If we go too far, then you can always pull back. Katie Vick, I guess, is an example of that, which I thought was hilarious, personally speaking.
Katie Vick, I liked it. Come on. That is like high comedy if there ever is.
One of the most anticipated Raw ratings in months on October 28 was set to determine the direction of the product going forward after a week of conflicting views from Vince McMahon to every corner of the industry, stemming from the now all-time infamous Katie Vick funeral home skit last Monday. Looking to see if the buzz created either for or against it would translate to an interest boost to the wide audience to the point of it making a difference in numbers, with this segment unlike the Gun and Palumbo publicity stunt which crossed over to mainstream media and led to a strong spike to SmackDown viewership over the next month, mostly being covered in the confines of the wrestling business with no major outside media outlet other than TNN sending out a public message in response to the massive reaction during the week in mails and phone calls saying that the segment didn't violate the standards and practices of Raw, with Vince McMahon, who through all the reaction remained a strong advocate of this segment to the point of sending out an internal office memo noting it drawing the peak rating of the night. Kicking off Raw with Triple H as his on-screen mouthpiece responding to the reaction along with mocking talks inside a minority internet audience of potentially organizing a boycott of Raw in the lead-up to Monday night, using it to put the heat on Hunter with a Katie Vick mannequin in the ring to see the show opening with a 3.4 rating and over 4.2 million viewers. After all the talk of the angle either boosting interest or being a turn-off, opening the show with no indication of either case in a routine number right at the recent average of Raw, following it up by taking a more comedic turn to the darker tone of last Monday with Kane introducing a parody skit of Hunter in a hospital room to set up the top match for tonight with Kane vs Hunter in a casket match in the main event. With the reaction to the skit dominating the headlines in the industry over the past week, the first comment came just minutes after Raw went off the air from perhaps the most influential performer in establishing the Kane character as a major player, with Paul Bearer in a post on a wrestling forum at close to midnight saying that he was horrified watching the segment and never thought he would ever be proud to say that he's not working for Vince McMahon any longer. With the second strong reaction went a step further with Mick Foley, who is still under contract with the company and was scheduled for a Bite This interview next Friday, cancelling his appearance in response, with him also revealing that Vince recently offered him a new job as a creative consultant to try to improve the product in a similar role to Vince Russo's brief return to the company earlier in the year, with Foley, who like everybody else mentioned that he didn't like the company's name change and he will always call it the WWF. Opening the door for an in-ring comeback, saying that he got into his best physical shape in years and is confident that he can still deliver to his previous standards with a Foley vs McMahon WrestleMania match targeted for the past 2 years, with the two people who had the job of selling the segment to the world and JR and King also reacting to the backlash during the week, with Lawler saying that the company aired the skit knowing that it might turn some people off but that it was designed for shock value to get people talking, which did its job, evident from the reaction, with JR in his weekly report saying that viewers can expect more controversial days ahead for the Raw product, with the creative team looking for more non-traditional presentations to the business to create more unpredictable television to places that the genre has not gone before, noting that he admits that some of the content is a little edgy even for him, but he's not in the company's primary target 18 to 34 demographic that will determine the direction of the product by TV viewership going forward. Outside the Katie Vick controversy, Raw next followed up on the big story of the week in the industry with the signing of Scott Steiner to a full-time contract with the company, airing the first hype video package to Steiner's debut to open the final quarter of the first hour, followed by JR and King after initially only posting the news on the website last Tuesday, officially announcing his arrival to the TV audience. building him up with his WCW main event Big Papa Pump character, with the siren playing for the first time on WWE television to see the quarter, perhaps with the tease of Steiner showing up with the video hyping him coming in soon, leading to the first and only upwards viewership movement during the first hour to peak at a 3.4 rating, with higher viewership than the opening segment totaling 4.3 million viewers. With Steiner without an official date for his WWE debut, is still advertised to make one more World Wrestling All-Stars European tour in early December before becoming an exclusive WWE performer, with him currently still the world champion of the promotion after defending the title against Nathan Jones at the Colonial Stadium in Australia as recently as October 16. On a tour that is also set to feature the wrestling return of both Sting and Luger for the first time since the end of WCW in March 2001, with Raw crossing over 10 p.m. with the second top match of the night, with Jericho and Christian defending the tag belts against Bubba and Jeff Hardy, going longer than usual with 16 minutes in total through a commercial break, with Bubba after suffering a major concussion in a spot with Jericho during the TLC match on October 7 from taking a bulldog from the top of the ladder, saying that he worked the rest of the match on autopilot with him not remembering anything, while joking that Jericho is gonna get a receipt back as a response in their first match taking place on the night, ending up with Jericho pinning Hardy to retain, with the match continuing Raw's unusual flat viewing pattern to open the second hour at the same 4.2 million viewers range, making it perhaps the least viewership movement ever seen on a Raw broadcast since the show moved to 2 hours in 1997, in a massive contrast to the viewing pattern established in the past 5 years. With more edgier elements being brought back to the TV product from the peak run in hopes of bringing back lapsed viewers, Raw also saw the reintroduction of the former GTV backstage hidden camera format, with Eric Bischoff bringing it back to call the new version F-View TV, followed by Eric coming to the ring to follow up on his Elimination Chamber announcement last Monday, with him over the weekend making 2 major appearances for the company in New York, first with a rare bite this interview at the World in Times Square, followed by him being at the Madison Square Garden box office for Survivor Series tickets going on sale, with a record gate at the Garden targeted for the pay-per-view, with Eric after hyping the new Chamber concept as a combination of the Royal Rumble, Survivor Series and War Games, announcing the 6 participants as Hunter, Jericho, Kane, Van Dam, Booker and finally Shawn Michaels in his second return match in over 4 years, with Bischoff during the Bite This interview on Friday, like everybody else on a public forum during the week, being asked about the Katie Vick controversy, with him saying that he watched it for the first time during Raw's original airing backstage at Nashville alongside Shane McMahon, saying that Shane asked him at the moment if they stepped over the line, with Eric saying that he has mixed feelings about it because the mentality of trying to push the buttons of viewers to keep them tuning in every week was something he implemented while running WCW at its peak run, even if it still makes him uncomfortable in several ways. With Eric also asked about the upcoming Scott Steiner debut, saying that he had a great relationship with Steiner and they never had a problem despite Steiner's chaotic reputation towards the end of the company. And with Steiner now signing with McMahon as perhaps one of the top 3 realistic free agents in the industry. The other one on the list in Bill Goldberg, who criticized some of the edgy elements of the WWF product even years prior to last Monday, posted in an article on his website that the skit on Monday further enhanced the reason why he's not a part of their show, and while wishing success to Steiner's run with the company, with him close to the Steiner brothers over the past 3 years. Saying that his decision to possibly join the WWE is solely based on Vince McMahon's actions. Triple H vs. Kane in the first casket match on Raw since Rock vs. Taker in May 1999 went over the majority of the final quarter to go 11 minutes in the main event. with the match after an almost unprecedented viewing pattern on a 2-hour Raw broadcast indicating it being down to its core audience, with the entire show hovering around the 4.2 to 4.3 million viewers range with barely any movement to either direction. Seeing the Kane Hunter match with Shawn Michaels return for the finish picking up strong for the duration of it to peak at a 4.1 rating with over 5.2 million viewers in the 5-minute overrun in an over 800,000 viewers margin from any other segment on the show, but with it being the only positive spin on numbers on the night as Raw, which going into Monday with major curiosity was predicted to give a clear verdict on which direction the product will take going forward, dropping to an over 4-year low in both rating and viewership and the least watched Raw show since going against Nitro at its peak over 4 years ago, totaling a 3.4 rating with a little over 4.3 million viewers, blowing off the Kane Katie Vick angle with him going over in the match to shift full focus to the Survivor Series build-up in hopes of rebounding strong in the coming weeks with the pay-per-view hype and the added star power of Steiner and Michaels appearing on the show on a weekly basis.